Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. Not the best Wednesday night for Lazio. Home defeat against Genoa. Genoa that in the last 6 matches away never scored and allowed only 1 goal and arrived to the Olimpico and not only scored twice but come back with 3 points. 3 very important points both for Lazio and for Genoa. We are going to talk about this performance with Alasdair Mackenzie. Hello Alasdair, how are you?
Obviously not great. I like how you said it was a Wednesday as well. It feels like it's been about 3 days this night. But yeah, it's hugely disappointing game. Not a particularly good team, but they were very well disciplined. And yeah, Lazio haven't shown up again for the 3rd game in a row, really.
Yep, 2nd defeat in a row. And with us today, there is even Michael Di Mascio. Hi, Michael. How are you?
It's nice to record at a decent hour on my end. That's the only good thing about today. That's the only good thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thank you for joining us as usual.
Thanks for having me.
Plenty of things to talk about tonight. I don't even know where to start. One thing is, Pandev, every time he plays against Lazio, he scores. This is like, a rule.
I hope you made some money off that, no?
No, I didn't. Oh, but I was sure. I was sure that he was scoring, And you can see he has that, and this is something I thought it was missing tonight. Genoa players had that eye of the tiger, the will to score, to win this match. I didn't see it in the Lazio player, especially in Felipe Anderson.
Well, Felipe Anderson is definitely the worst culprit when it comes to that. And it was quite interesting, I thought, that watching it over here in the UK, the co-commentator, who clearly didn't really know anything about Lazio or Italian football, as soon as Felipe Anderson was in the pitch, within about 2 or 3 minutes, he'd picked up on the fact that he just didn't look interested. And he was saying, look at this guy, he really needs to stop being so casual and look like he cares. And for a guy who clearly doesn't watch Lazio to pick up on that so quickly it spoke volumes, really. I mean, for him to come off the bench with 20 minutes left, it's a big attacking move from Inzaghi, but it really didn't pay off. I mean, I think Inzaghi's substitutions tonight were a bit naive, and I think he almost accepted that pretty quickly by then bringing on Patrick and moving Anderson over to the left, because Anderson cannot play in any sort of role where he's going to need to cover defensively. So I think, to be honest, that Inzaghi's almost as at fault as anyone for actually losing the game tonight with the substitutions he made.
If I had a key word, I'd say this whole result was, the reflection of the team is limited. And we've already talked about Felipe Anderson. The last time I was on, just 2 weeks ago, we saw a player who was so unmotivated and we were deciding who should play him or Nani. And still, Inzaghi decides to keep Nani on the bench. The thing is, Nani, you see him before he's about to step onto the field, he looks like he's ready to kill somebody. He's so motivated. He's too motivated. They left him on the bench again, and they lacked the creativity. The team was limited from Lukaku down to the back with some really cavalier mistakes. De Vrij cost us the first goal. I was going to say, other than that, coming back from an injury, he looked good. But, he was the main culprit for the first goal. Cáceres should be thanking his lucky stars that that goal was called back. He was at fault, obviously, for the first Laxalt goal. But you know what? You're right, Vittorio. Genoa fully deserved the 3 points. They came out motivated from start to finish. I didn't think it was going to be able to last, especially with the Gypsy Pandev up front. You eventually thought he was going to tire out. But the man, he decides that he only wants to play 2 games out of 38 a year. and it has to always be against Lazio because somehow he feels hard done by us when really he was the one who held out and cost us. Let's not forget.
Alasdair were talking about the substitution, which I agree in part, but then I think at the first half I was saying, okay, the three defenders are playing great, but then Marusic, bad. Parolo, bad. Murgia, terrible. Lukaku, where is he? Luis Alberto even was playing average. You cannot change 5 players, so you have to make a decision. I thought we were always saying why Murgia's not playing, Now I understand why he doesn't play. Today he was awful. I think he missed all the passes he tried, And Lukaku, I don't know, Pereira is the new Maldini because every time Lukaku was trying something, Pereira stopped him.
He hadn't figured out the whole game, Vittorio. Pereira had a great game, or I think Lukaku is just a limited player, and we see why Inzaghi decides to bring him off the bench. He is a one-dimensional player. If he can't beat the man one-on-one and use his speed and strength to pass him, he can't deliver a cross. We know that already. So he relies on his strength and speed to beat the defender one-on-one. And Pedro Pereira had him figured out. And even after they subbed him off in the last 10 minutes, Lazio still wasn't able to penetrate from the left-hand side. They tried Felipe Anderson there, and they tried Lukaku, and nothing was working.
I think that your description there is exactly why I was thinking one-dimensional, because the thing about Lukaku is if he's not able to burst down the left and get a cross in, he can't effectively cut in onto his right, which more flexible fullbacks would be able to do. But his right foot is so poor that I think defenders would be quite happy to let him in on the inside because there's no danger really of letting him do that because his right foot's not going to deliver any sort of dangerous pass across.
And Marusic, I noticed he was still playing when at a certain point they passed him the ball after 24 minutes in the second half. I thought he left the pitch because he didn't touch the ball for 24 minutes. What was he doing today? He was awful. And again, this is a match. You know what happened to Inter. You see the result of Roma. You know you have to win this match because you're playing Napoli against next week. And you know you're going to lose. So or you win today or next Sunday, you're going to be below Inter. And Inter is playing badly. Imagine if Inter start playing well, And instead, nothing. I didn't see any sort of reaction. Anything. Perin didn't make a save. One. That says everything for me.
Well, he did, but the saves he made were from shots that were from about 30, 35 yards away from goal. So that was you can criticise the defending tonight quite easily, but we just didn't create, and that's the most worrying thing for me. Really, is the way that the goals have dried up in the last few games, and against a Milan side who kind of on the upsurge, you can maybe find an excuse for that, but against a Genoa side at the wrong end of the table, you can't. And yeah, I know Genoa's strength is in their organisation and how well they've defended in recent games, but I mean, come on, we should at least be testing them, and they weren't being tested tonight. The goal. It took a pretty phenomenal finish from Parolo to get a goal tonight. But we need Ciro back. We need Alberto to rediscover his old form. And, we need to find a role for Nani and Anderson other than just bringing them off the bench and hoping for the best, because we've not been getting their best from them by doing that.
Vittorio, there is a way to beat Napoli on Saturday, and it we still have to go into the pitch to play them, so it's unfair to say we go to lose for sure. There is a formula to beat them, but it starts with Luis Alberto, and Alasdair just referred to it. As soon as I know what people will say, they're going to say Sergej Milinkovic-Savic was really missed today, but the truth is, you take him out of the lineup, Luis Alberto all of a sudden decided that he needed the ball all the time, but he didn't have the usual creativity that he had. He started forcing things. He was getting mad at everybody around him. He was getting in the way. He wasn't distributing the ball properly. And then it gets to the point where everybody gets frustrated, and then you'll see a Murgia or Luis Alberto take shots from 30 yards out because they just figure, well, we can't penetrate here. We can't find Ciro. And Ciro was isolated. It's not like he was really working that hard to become free. So I really actually say from Ciro, from the top right to the back, the whole team lacked insight and creativity today. There wasn't one person who played worse than the other. Parolo scored, but, there was moments there where he was drifting in and out of the game, sort of like what he was doing against the 2 games against Milan, where he was ineffective. Leyva was afraid today to stick a foot in there because he knew he'd be suspended. So that's the problem. Usually you can at least look to Leyva and say, okay, he's going to play with some balls today and he's going to, get stuck in a challenge. But because he wanted to play against Napoli on Saturday, he already had his head in that game. He knew that he might get suspended today and he didn't want that to happen. So the team played with fear. They went up against a highly motivated Genoa side. And like I said already, Genoa deserved the 3 points.
I think one of the secrets of this team are the movements. And today, none of the players on the pitch were running around to create spaces for the others. Murgia was standing still, Parolo was still, Lukaku and Marusic never attacking, and that's the secret. And Immobile was too far alone in the box, marked all the time by 3 defenders. That's the thing that scares me more, because, you can say, okay, we lost because, I don't know, De Vrij made a mistake. No, De Vrij made a mistake, but all the others played even worse than him, even worse. So I would say that the only positive side was Cáceres today. He played a great match tonight. Him and Radu was the best. And this tells you a lot of things because, against Genoa, I want to see Luis Alberto doing great things. Felipe Anderson comes in and want to, burn the pitch. Instead, nothing. And I tell you, Roma and Inter, I saw them play. They are playing badly, but this won't last forever. And remember, Lazio starting Europe League next week, while Inter will have a week to prepare to the next match. I don't believe Spalletti is going to fail again. And Lazio is 1 point ahead of Inter and going to play against Napoli. If Lazio plays this weekend like they played tonight, Napoli is going to win 5-0 only in the first 35 minutes. And this is a fact. And it happened already with Pioli a couple of years ago. So if they don't wake up, this is going to be the result. And it's going to be disappointing because now you're third and you're going to end fifth if you continue to play like that.
I think the most disappointing thing is that you've seen Inter drop 4 points in games against Spal and Crotone, and we've not been able to take advantage of that. You're right, it's not going to last forever, but neither is this run of form for Lazio. So I understand the immediate reaction to this is to say, okay, we're not getting the Champions League now, but we're still the team with the advantage here. Michael's right, we're not going to Napoli to lose. This is a good team that has an opportunity to actually get results and has been able to get results against big teams this season.
Especially away from home.
Yeah, and going to Turin to beat Juventus, there's no reason why we can't have played in that game. But it's going to take a hell of a lot of change from what we saw tonight, that's for sure. And you go through ups and downs throughout a season. I think, for me, what's going to be interesting now is if this trend continues, where Inzaghi places the Europa League in his priorities. Is he going to go into those Steaua Bucharest games and put out a B team, or is he going to put out a strong enough team to get through the round? Because it's getting to the business end of the season now, and the Champions League has to be the priority. So do you sacrifice that, or do you still put in your strongest 11?
Seeing the situation now, I will try to rotate the team as much as possible. The problem is you're playing Napoli before the Europa League, and you can be already fifth for that day. So, that at the end won't count. So
there will be a reaction against Napoli. It depends on the way they go into the pitch. If they kind of take on, and it sounds negative, but if they take on a provincial-minded approach and clog the midfield, and Leyva is not afraid like he was today, Napoli can be beat. They are also a very one-dimensional team, and they rely heavily on the distribution from Insigne on the wings, similar to the way Lukaku plays. Obviously, there's a big difference in class between the two players, but Napoli can be had, and all it takes is to get up early on them on a goal, and they'll start being confused themselves, wondering why they haven't taken an early lead. Remember, we held our own against them the first time we played them. It was a freak injury parade that cost us the first time. I think there will be a reaction, but I want to ask you guys: do you think it's too crazy to say the word retiro yet? Can we go in a retiro? Does that make sense? Maybe with all these important matches coming up. I know it's only 2 losses in a row, but this team needs to kind of be shaken back into where they were before. Inzaghi needs to do something now. This is where you earn your merit as a coach.
I think it's definitely too soon to be talking about doing that. But I think playing against Napoli will be the sort of game that plays to our strengths a bit more, though. I think Lazio prefer to play an open, expansive game. So going against a team that likes to attack, likes to keep the ball, I think that's going to actually hopefully play to our strengths a little bit more than games like tonight. I mean, we have struggled at times. The opening day match against Spal is another obvious example, when it is just coming up against teams who come to Rome and try and sit in, and they put 6 defenders across the back. And that's something that the best teams have to find a way through, but that we haven't always managed to. But Napoli are obviously not going to do that. So I'm hoping that perhaps if we have a more open game in Naples, that might actually help some of our more creative attacking players get their confidence back and be able to find a bit more space in which to operate again. Because, I mean, Ciro Immobile was basically handcuffed tonight. I don't think we really saw him. I think he got in behind the defence once, maybe. So I don't know if he's still recovering with an injury problem or what it is. But
no, I thought Luis Alberto was coming too near the midfield to take the ball, and that's why there was too many meters between him and Immobile, and so it was very difficult to connect. But I repeat, Lazio played very well against Napoli, but that was a different Lazio. If Lazio plays like they did against Milan or against Genoa, it's going to be a disaster. And even in Coppa Italia, Lazio didn't play as well as expected. I don't know. I hope it's a period, but I see that there's some problems. And I agree with Michael. I don't think Retiro is the right solution. I think you have to change something. And at the moment, Lazio is less dangerous. So you have to shuffle something there. Instead of a 3-5-1-1, I think you need 3-4-1-2 or a 3-5-2. I don't know, but Lazio is not dangerous as before, and this is because maybe Luis Alberto is tired. Maybe other team have found out a reason how to stop Lazio. But Genoa has a very good defense and didn't allow any goal except to Juventus in the last 6 matches. But Lazio hardly had a chance tonight, so
the mentality is also a factor, though, because you said they go into the pitch knowing Inter has dropped points. Roma has played well. So every time Lazio has played on a Monday where they've already known their fate, what they need to do, just like against Torino, the pressure weighs on them. And that's, again, at home where Lazio seems to not play the same. They play a lot more free-flowing away from home. And the fact that the mentality, they got to shake that. They know full well that Inter dropped points, so I think they put added pressure on themselves like Luis Alberto did today. He decided that he needed the ball at all times. He needed to track back to the midfield and collect the ball and try to force passes that weren't there and try to penetrate the way he usually does, but it wasn't happening. So he didn't adjust. He didn't make the adjustments in his game, and the results are there. But before we close off anything, we should put aside a point because he's not free from our wrath today. Strakosha. Since the derby, I haven't seen that guy make a goal kick that hasn't put us in danger after he's kicked the ball. If you remember correctly, in the derby, he was injured, or at least he was carrying some sort of knock, and he was really lacking in his goal kicks. But I don't know if you guys have noticed this trend. He can't seem to clear the ball properly. He puts us in jeopardy every time he clears the ball.
I've been talking about this for months.
I wish that was the problem of Lazio, honestly.
But I'm just saying everybody from top to bottom has played subpar. So either Lazio was punching above their weight at the beginning of the season and confused us all and tricked us, or the truth is somewhere in between, that this team has the quality to beat a Napoli, to beat a Juventus. I mean, we did this. it's not a different Lazio. It's the same players. There's just something lacking right now. They did change their defense a few times. I mean, from Wallace to Bastos, now to Cáceres. It all looks the same to me sometimes with some of these, lacking judgment mistakes that they'll make in defense. So Lazio has to sort it out from the back, and hopefully that will, remotivate everybody moving forward. Milinkovic-Savic will be back on Saturday, and that should hopefully free up some pressure on Luis Alberto. If not, you put Nani in his place. The man is motivated. He wants to do something with the ball. At least I can say that about him.
Yeah. Lazio's playing Saturday, and then Sunday there is Inter Bologna and Roma Benevento. So Lazio's going down if they don't do a result against Napoli, which, Napoli lost just one match at home. So it's going to be quite difficult.
Fair enough, but at least it's not going to be on their mind that, Inter dropped points again and Roma dropped points, so we need to play extra special to get these 3 points. Let them just focus on the game, and I'm telling you, we'll see a different Lazio on Saturday.
I've got a theory.
Yep.
I want to put past you. I think during Lazio's best run of form this season, one of the keys to that success was consistency of selection. And Inzaghi chose the same team for 8 or 9 games in a row. Now, a lot of the reason for that was because it was enforced in terms of injury problems within the squad. But at the same time, it did give that group of players a hell of a lot of time to work together and know exactly how to connect with each other. Whereas now, I would argue that Inzaghi's desperately trying to find a way of getting Anderson, Nani, Alberto, Immobile, Caicedo, everybody involved, everybody happy and having minutes. But that's also coincided with a drop-off in form. So I think, in a way, he needs to tinker a bit less and decide what he thinks is his most balanced team and kind of put aside the issue of whether players will be happy or not about it. Because tonight was the first time, I think, that we saw Nani, Anderson, Alberto and Immobile all on the pitch at the same time. And from what we saw there, I just don't see any balance. I cannot see how that's going to work as something going forward. I think he's almost better off trying to... I don't mean when we've got a game every 3 days, but for your weekend matches at least, having a bit more consistency and not changing the team around so much.
I like that insight, Alasdair.
I don't know. I mean, especially now when you're playing every 3 days, if you play the same team all these matches, then you're going to pay. You're going to pay in June when you have not enough energy and the other players haven't played enough. So I see a reason there.
But I was saying not every 3 days, but the weekend games. So we're obviously not the same team for the Europa League matches, for the Serie A matches, but I think just having a sort of consistency of selection again, which we haven't really seen since the turn of the year.
What I can say is I was a little bit surprised of the double substitution, Nani and Felipe Anderson together. I thought maybe that was too much. Make, Nani or Felipe Anderson and wait a little bit for the other. I thought that created more problems than helped the team, I thought. But as we said before, all the players, I think I would save only Radu and Cáceres tonight, to be honest with you. All the others didn't perform as expected.
The substitutions reminded me of, actually playing FIFA or something. It's, if you're losing playing a computer game and you just throw on all your attacking players and hope for the best. But we all know that in reality that doesn't actually work. So
that's a little bit like Pioli was doing at Lazio very often. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah. But I think he quite quickly backtracked on that by bringing Patrick on, a more defence-minded fullback, because with Lukaku on one side and Anderson on the other, there was just absolutely no protection really for down the flanks. So I think Inzaghi made a mistake there, but he pretty quickly, to his credit, recognised that he had made a mistake. It's just a bit worrying that we talked about this last week, Inzaghi's substitutions recently just have been a bit questionable, and he's not showing recently quite as much of that ability to be flexible and tinker with things tactically during a game, which kind of characterised the start of the season, was one of his greatest strengths, and he's not been showing that quite so much recently.
Yep. Tom Sheldrick on Twitter, poor performance tonight. Has Luis Alberto lost his superpower now his blonde highlights have gone? Maybe. I think that could be an option. We didn't think about that, honestly, but it could be. Ramel Gendi.
At this point, I'll draw any conclusions because this is not the same team we saw even 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Ramiel Gendi, Murgia was horrible, so was Alberto, Lukaku and Marusic, but worst of them all is Inzaghi. Don't know, I thought Marusic was worse than everybody. He didn't do absolutely nothing. He didn't even try it, at least try it. Don't know.
It's a limited player, Vittorio.
I don't think so.
He's shown it all, glimpses of skill or but the man is afraid to put in a cross because he lacks the confidence now because you've seen his poor crosses too. To me, it's Lichtsteiner 2.0 sometimes out there watching him. It reminds me of those days. Yes, he has the strength to fight off somebody defensively if he wants and track back. Something that Felipe Anderson goes against his religion, I think, to track back after losing the ball. But something like that, you like you said, why not throw in a cross? But I think confidence is shot on that player.
Christopher Thomas, I agree with Vittorio. Inter have been playing badly. They are due to come back into some sort of form. We are pretty lucky we are still in third place after recent weeks. The problem is Inter draw against Crotone and gain a point against Lazio. This is the problem. We are playing against Napoli, they're playing against Benevento, and they don't have the Europa League. They don't have the Coppa Italia. They'll have plenty of time to rest if a disaster doesn't happen. I see now Inter arriving, and even Roma, to be honest, against Verona, they scored after 5 minutes. They played decent in the first half. But in the second, if there was a better team than Verona, I think they would have lost. And again, they gained 3 points against Lazio. So this is really concerning. It's not only Lazio playing bad. It's the other team that are gaining points, playing even worse than Lazio. So anyway, Walid Mohamed, Inzaghi has did it again. Why do you need 4 midfielders and only 1 striker at home against Genoa? Why wait until 17th minute to change? Why Parola and Murgia together? Why not Caicedo instead of Anderson? Too many questions. Yeah. Alasdair, do you want to answer to some of them? And then Michael can answer to the others.
Well, I'll answer the why not Caicedo one by sending you a YouTube clip of Felipe Caicedo. I think it's a bit harsh to question Inzaghi's starting team today, I would say, because I don't agree with the idea of why play 5 midfielders and 1 striker, because it's a very attack-minded team. I think what I kind of expected might happen today was that Alberto would start in the kind of Mezzala position with Nani or Anderson up behind Immobile. So perhaps putting Murgia in from the start was slightly more negative than he could have been, but at the same time Murgia's opportunities have been so limited that it was very good, very encouraging to see him actually get a start for this game. So I think it's hard to criticise a team he chose from the start, but yeah, definitely the points about the substitutions is absolutely right. I think well, we kind of just covered this, but it just did seem a bit naive, just chucking on all your attacking players, and the team lost shape. The team was clearly not familiar with where they were supposed to be, what space they were supposed to be covering with those kind of players on the pitch, and ultimately paid the price. And not just once but twice. We went behind, got lucky, I would say, with the VAR chalking that goal off for handball, and then they come back and score again. So you were saying at the very start of the show, Vittorio, how few goals this Genoa team score. For us to concede 3 times to them tonight and several more opportunities on top of that is well, it says a lot about the substitutions towards the end of the game, to be honest, because that's when most of those chances appeared.
It's not far-fetched to blame Inzaghi. I'll be honest, it's not that far-fetched of an idea. He led this campaign against VAR since maybe October, September, who knows? And today VAR really, Giuseppe Rossi already tweeted, ma stai scherzando, but really we were on the beneficial end of a rather dubious call today, and we still couldn't do anything with it.
Come on, he touched it twice with the hand, and the first time he does it on purpose. You can see he moved the hand just to get the ball. That's, if you don't disallow that goal, then we stop playing football, because
the first time it hit his hand is because Cáceres is playing dangerous play by kicking him in the head. Come on, Vittorio, let's take the rose-colored glasses off. Genoa deserved it. They played well,
they played better than Lazio,
and we were lucky that it got called back. I think so.
No, that was, you can see Sky show at least 3 replay, and it was evident that Laxalt moved the hand just to get the ball and hit it twice. So it's good that finally.
Fair enough.
It's good that VAR finally helps Lazio, but
it helps us. But it didn't do anything for the morale of the team, because they decided to just rest on the laurels. But I'm saying Inzaghi led this campaign. Now he has to actually become a coach and really decide how he wants to do this, because he felt like he owed Murgia a favor. He goes, I think I have to put Murgia in because he really wants to play. He's waiting every game, and we always ask, why not Murgia? Why not Murgia? And same thing, he says, I owe Nani. Now he starts making these deals with these players. He has to lie to them a little bit, and like Alasdair said at the beginning of the program, start getting back to what did well for us in terms of a formation with some consistency. Stop doing favors for players and playing them just because you feel bad that they've sat on the bench for the last 3 games. The squad has depth, the squad has creativity, the squad has something, and they have something to say, and they should start showing it and stop doing favors for people.
I don't think he's doing favors. I think he knows that he has to give a little bit of rest to players, especially Lulic, and Milinkovic couldn't play tonight, so he had to make some substitution. But I don't know if you agree. I think those 2 players were very important tonight, because Lazio physically wasn't able to match Genoa. A lot of balls in the box, and every time Genoa was first. I don't remember. Maybe Parolo in the first half hit the ball with the head, but that was the only time Lazio did it. So I think Marusic and Lulic were missed a lot for the physical power that Lazio didn't have, and this is something. And we said in summer, we said we need a striker. A big physical striker to support Immobile, to give him a change when you play against a team like Genoa that has 10 players all in the box, and you cannot score with speedy passes, and that's something that was missing tonight. I don't know if Caicedo could have do something better.
Yeah, I think Milinkovic-Savic has been so useful in that role during this season, in terms of being the big target man when it comes to it. Lazio needing a goal in a game, and he gets pushed further up the pitch. You can change the game plan a bit and just aim those long balls up towards him, and people can play off him. And he's absolutely sensational the way he can control it on his chest. But without him tonight, you're right. I think we needed something else, and maybe Caicedo was that option, because although Caicedo doesn't really offer much of a goal threat, what he does do is occupies defenders, and when Genoa have 6 guys lined up across the back, at least if you bring on Caicedo, you're obviously going to have to sacrifice someone for him, but he's going to take up the attention of one or two of those defenders. So if he can get the ball in and hold on to it and lay it off, then perhaps you're in a better position than you are with Nani and Anderson, who are basically 2 kind of flighty wingers who are technically very gifted, but I don't think are really the answer to break down a really well-organised, physical, big defence.
I mean, Nani entered very focused, etc., but what did he do? Nothing. I don't blame him. I think in that type of match, in that situation, he couldn't do that much, and you need a more physical player, and Nani isn't a physical player. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Michael, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed because just last week, our group here in Toronto got together to watch the game against Milan. And I went into the match confident. I said, it's nice for a change to go into every match expecting to win. And it's a nice feeling. And now that feeling has been taken away from me. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that now we have to change our style of play to play Napoli. Like I said, I mean, I should, slap my own self in the face. So I said at the beginning of the program, we need to go into a provincial-sided mentality to steal a point there on Saturday. But who are we kidding? We're Lazio. We have the creativity to beat them one-on-one. We can do it. So, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed in what's become of us in the last 2 weeks, just like that. We went from being confident of 3 points every single game and expecting to win to now putting a question mark beside every game and saying, can we take a point against Napoli? Can we even beat Genoa? How does this happen?
I think for me as well, the biggest worry is the lack of goals, because this season, one thing, when we have had concerns about certain performances or results as the season's go along, one thing we've never had to worry about is scoring goals. And for that to suddenly become an issue now is not great. There's enough attacking potential in this team for that to end, but it's a bit strange to have gone 3 games and only scored once.
Yeah, Simone Inzaghi spoke after the match with the TV. He said that Lazio had some problems. Genoa is a very well organized team, especially in defense. We were great to score after they scored the first time. We are a little bit tired, but we don't look for excuse. We have to analyze what happened, but an experienced team, a more mature team, would never get that goal in the last minute. On Felipe Anderson, he had to adapt to play in that position. He could do a little bit more, but there's nothing to blame him. He's always trying to help us. We miss Milinkovic and Lulic. They are 2 players very important for us, but we didn't lose for them. Now we have to think about Napoli. I'm really upset because if you want to compete for a certain position, you cannot take a goal after you scored.
We need to start the Twitter hashtag for Luis Alberto to get his hair dyed again. It looks like it's picking up steam. I look at my WhatsApp chats while Vittorio was reading stuff there, and I looked at the Lazio Toronto chat, and right away somebody wrote, David Polsinelli actually in Toronto says he needs to refrost his hair. So that sentiment is already going around. People are getting desperate, and the scaramantico side of everybody, what's the word I'm looking for? Vittorio, help me out.
Superstitious.
Superstitious, thank you. I don't know what happened to my language. What language is first there? But the superstition is kicking in already. And the hysteria, obviously. Yeah.
Do you think Lazio should change, like a little bit happened last year in the first Coppa Italia derby when Inzaghi switched from the 4-3-3 to the 3-5-2? Is it this time to go back maybe to the 4-3-3 and try Immobile, Felipe Anderson and Nani?
No, I don't think so. I think we're beyond the point of tactical experimentation at this point. I think the team is so well drilled and so familiar with this system that it's going to be too much of a change at this point of the season to tear it up and start again, because that's essentially what we'd be doing. I mean, if this had been something that the team had tinkered with in Europa League games, Copa games, which we speculated about at the start of the season, then maybe, but 4-3-3 has not been an option at any point this season, so I don't see why we should start now. Unless, well, not yet anyway. If this run gets worse and worse, then perhaps it's time to change. But at this stage, I don't think it's a crisis yet. It's not retiro time or anything, so I think we just make small alterations and get the confidence back, and I think performances will return eventually.
Michael?
I like 5 in the midfield. I do like 5 in the midfield, and I think that might go a long way to helping us defeat Napoli on Saturday. But Alasdair made a good point earlier on that with how attacking they play, it might play to our advantage where we can hit them on the counter. But Immobile's got to make more than one run a game. He has to commit himself, and he has to become available and not get isolated. And he's going to field the match on Saturday. And I hope it's in a positive way, not like the way Parolo was the last 2 times against Milan, where he had his whole family, it seemed like, at the game, and he was really struggling and he was putting every touch wrong. I just want a team that gets back to playing free-flowing football and making the correct passes and not expecting too much of your neighbor, where Luis Alberto needs to track back and take the ball away from Lucas Leiva, for example. They have to work in fluidity, and they have to get back to what was doing well for them in the first half of the season. And we'll leave it at that on my end.
Nigel Gann on Lazio Asia, worst match of the season. If we are in Champions League, a performance tonight would have cost us a loss of 5-0.
I love Nigel. That's all I can say.
I think he's right, unfortunately. I think he's right. Talking about 3-5-2, remember that Napoli is playing with 4-3-3, so it's going to be fundamental, the work that the wingers are going to do, because when Napoli is attacking, they have to go back and be in line with the defenders and play in a 5-line, because otherwise the two attackers of Napoli will force Radu and Cáceres, I believe they're going to play, to move wider and allow Martens to be one-on-one all the time and maybe help Hamsik coming in. So, it's very difficult to play a 3-5-2 against a 4-3-3 team if the wingers doesn't play really well. And tonight, I think one of the reasons why Lazio played so bad is that Marusic and Lukaku were awful. So this is something very important, I think, for Napoli's match.
Maybe bring back Basta for that game.
Yeah, could be an option, especially looking, how Marusic played. I mean, I believe he could easily find a little bit of rest for the next 2-3 matches. I'm too hard?
I'd like to see Basta and Lulic.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more experience.
Yeah, why not?
Again, for me, the best player of the midfield was Lucas Leiva, who you can say didn't do nothing special, but at the same time didn't do nothing wrong. He was always there in the right place. Maybe he didn't play that well in the sense that he missed a couple of important assists, but again, he wasn't awful like Parolo and Murcia. And Parolo, I think he saved his performance with that incredible goal. But again, I think I give a lot of credit there to Cáceres, because the cross he made was amazing. You just needed to touch the ball to score there, I believe.
And hopefully with time, him, De Vrij, and Radu will become acclimatized with each other. And we should, hopefully that will not become an issue, because I'm sure Inzaghi wants one less headache and find some consistency, at least in the back.
Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to Radu as well, because it was his 300th game tonight, and that's an amazing achievement to play so many games for one club. He's been there for 11 years, and I thought he was actually one of, if not our best players tonight. So I think he deserves a lot of credit, and for a game in which he was and him and his service to the club was being honoured, it's just a bit of a shame that the rest of the team didn't really play at the same standard that he did.
Absolutely, respect to Radu.
Yeah, and I thought, again, he had a great performance, an incredible season. Probably the best season so far he played with Lazio. And he always says that the secret is Simone Inzaghi, so I trust him. So I'm looking for some quotes from other quotes from Inzaghi. By the way, they started that before the match said that he doesn't want to talk about De Vrij tonight, but where is it? We have the complete agreement with the player. The problems are with his agency, but it's only bureaucracy. This is what he said.
Oh, we've been down this road before, haven't we?
Yeah, the traditional pre-match Iglitare Stefan De Vrij quote. It's been about 3 months of this now, hasn't it?
Yeah, has replaced the Iglitare Biglia quote.
Lucas Biglia, yeah.
Or the Keita.
Let's hope it doesn't end that way.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Because again, yeah, he made a mistake in the first goal. I think he was very unlucky that the ball stayed there. But again, he was playing really well. And this season, he pretty much played all the matches. So he hasn't got any more those injury that force him to not play all the season last year. So, and when he's playing like that, he's probably one of the best defender in Serie A.
Yeah, well, I think it's absolutely essential that the club do everything they can to get to keep hold of him. But I mean, the one encouraging thing while all this is taking forever for any contract situation to be resolved, but it doesn't seem like there's actually any other club making any particularly serious move for him at the same time. So I think, in a way, even if he is a free agent at the end of the season, it's better that his future at Lazio is up in the air rather than him knowing that he's joining another club, because I just can't understand how players can remain motivated while they know they're leaving for another club at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Well, if he is, he's doing a hell of a job of staying professional.
Yeah. Kikito just tweeted, I thought Felipe Anderson had a disgraceful match tonight. I don't mind players having a bad game. I do mind players look like they don't care if we win or lose. I think that's the biggest problem with Felipe Anderson.
We've beat this to death. I mean, this is a player that unless he starts, he seems unmotivated or unhappy. We know how quickly his depression can kick in. I wish we would spend less time discussing him, but even in the small amount of time that he gets on the pitch, he makes his presence felt positively or negatively. He has a say in our match, and today he cost us for sure on the third or the second technical goal for Genoa. He lost the ball along the wing and decided that he didn't feel like tracking back.
Yeah. Disappointing watching Felipe Anderson play like that. That's a problem. I don't know. And honestly, after a performance like that, I don't think he deserves to start next match.
He cannot. But what happens if you're losing against Napoli? Do you reintroduce him? Today, it would have felt like a loss even at 1-1. He was introduced in the game to try to do something. We were chasing the result. It's no different than when we were losing. So you're asking him to do what, or play to his strengths, which was attacking, and that didn't happen. So even if you're losing against Napoli, it just doesn't make sense to introduce him to the match. Either he starts or there's no point even calling him to the team, it seems like.
I don't know. I'm not sure that the 3-5-2 or 1-1 as Inzaghi is playing now, it's the perfect solution for Felipe Anderson and Nani. I think 4-3-3 could be a better option.
I think it perhaps is a better option for them, but I don't think it's a better option for a lot of other players in this team. I think you mentioned how Rabiu's having his best season. I think that's because he's playing in the back three. That system suits him well. The system suits Milinkovic-Savic better than I think it would if he was part of a 4-3-3, like we saw with Stefano Pioli. He didn't know what to do with him in a 4-3-3, and he didn't really have any impact in it. I think this system offers us far more protection at the same time as being able to get us going forward. But it goes back to the same thing I said at the very start of the season when Nani came in, is that he's not a guy who fits into this system in any particular place. This problem has been there from the start, but it's only because of injuries that we're just realizing it now.
I don't agree. I see Nani playing near Immobile as a solution in a 3-5-2. And this summer, Felipe Anderson was playing in that position and was really convincing. The problem is summer friendlies tells you something, but not all the time it translates in when the season starts. So I think the biggest weaknesses of this team is having a powerful striker, one with a big body that can help you when you play against Genoa that plays with 10 defenders, and it's not easy to to pass them with speed and skill.
Caicedo was there. Inzaghi decided he didn't want to use him. And Caicedo did the job against Milan, and I'm talking about in the league match, not the Coppa Italia, but he held the ball up. He did what he was told to do. He tried to create space for Luis Alberto. I think you can't ask for much more from him. He knows, he's a second striker. He's brought on to clear up space, and he can play with Immobile together. They've shown that they can work together, and he can maybe even help out. Obviously, the game against Napoli doesn't make sense for him, but today could have been a solution instead of bringing on Nani and Anderson together, especially if one player doesn't even care to be there.
Yeah, and Inzaghi in the press conference after the match said that he already said pretty much everything, but said, I'm a little bit disappointed because at 8 minutes till the end I could have put Caicedo in, but I'm happy about the decision I made. So, which doesn't tell if he's really sad about it, but okay. So he was thinking of bringing in Caicedo. I don't know if Lukaku came out because he was tired or something.
Well, Caicedo was warmed up, wasn't he? I mean, I thought that Caicedo was ready to come on after the Genoa goal was scored, but then when the VAR ruled it out, he went and sat back on the bench again.
Yep, that's correct.
Unless I was seeing things.
Yep, that's correct. I think he didn't want to put another striker and completely take off the balance of the team that was already struggling at that moment, especially with Felipe Anderson not playing, not defending at all.
Yeah.
Michael, we're still waiting for the scarf, sorry.
Scarves, yes. The pre-orders are ongoing. We launched on Instagram at Lazio Toronto. It's generating a lot of buzz, and I know the pre-orders are happening now, $25 each, but I will take care of you, Vittorio, for the show and all the wonderful publicity you've given to the club. I just need you to tell me where to send it, and hopefully maybe you can do me a favor and cover the shipping charges.
Alasdair will pay for everything, don't worry.
He is the star. I mean, he gets paid more than all three of us, so it makes sense that Alasdair should cover it. I think it's only right. He takes games off to be with his mom. I mean, there's nothing else greater than Lazio Alasdair. Come on, man.
This is an official statement. If you say again that Alasdair is a star, you're not welcome anymore.
There's a lot of jealousy going on in recent shows.
I do the dirty work and then he takes all the credit. I mean,
yeah, you're the Lucas Leiva to my Ciro Immobile.
Yeah, just need to score.
No, honestly, we performed the surgery today. I think all three of us did a great job dissecting the game, and it was a little bit spicy. I tried to bring a counterpoint to what you thought or viewed, Vittorio, but we have to put this game in the rear view and not go into the match expecting to lose against Napoli, because then we've become nothing, and everything we've done up until now stands for nothing. So I'm really looking to Inzaghi to shake it up during this week. I know I said retiro, big R word, but something along those lines needs to happen. There needs to be some sort of return to glory like we showed in the first half of the season. And it is possible. We know we can do it.
Before closing the show, Lazio, for points at home, it's 7th. There's Juventus first, Napoli, Sampdoria, Inter, Roma, Atalanta, and then Lazio with 20 points. Same points that Milan did at home. This tells you something. 6 victory, 2 draw, and 3 defeats at home for Lazio. This is not a performance for a top team, a Champions League team. This is where Lazio have to improve. Away, Lazio is the 3rd after Napoli and Juventus. But it's at home where we're losing a lot of points.
At least it's easier to fix your home form than your away form.
You think so? We didn't do tonight.
No, but I think getting points away from home tends to be the harder thing to do. So if we can continue that, and I don't know what it is. It is strange to who have had this problem, because it's not something we usually struggle with too much. But yeah, I'm with Michael on this. I think that it's still a very talented squad that can go on and have a great season. I don't think we should get too pessimistic about things after one game.
It's two in a
or
row.
3 games.
Yeah.
But tonight was terrible. I said on Twitter after the game that it was the worst performance of the season from Lazio, and I still believe that. But it can only get better.
After Napoli.
Winning cures all. Winning cures all. We're going to beat Napoli. We're going to go in motivated. This is the best time to play Napoli, when nobody expects anything from Lazio after 2 games. So let's do it. Forza Lazio Carica.
I hope you're right. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Have a good rest of the day for you, Michael, and good night for Alasdair McKenzie, and maybe we talk next Sunday.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me again, guys.
It's our pleasure. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Ciao.